I mean, just imagine being one of the only people in the world to have seen something like that. It's pretty incredible.
And survived to tell about it.
Yeah.
Fire, huh?
Yeah.
I heard Prometheus stole fire from the gods.
So we are about to talk about the movie Prometheus. This is a alien prequel, and we are going to talk about the science of this movie. It's a science fiction movie, and they actually refer to a lot of different little bits of science throughout the movie, and it's a very fun way to talk about the science itself. This is going to be a massive, continuous series of spoilers about the movie.
Which is why I would like to actually get off the call now, because I was not able to see it this week.
You haven't even seen it yet?
What?
But
No, I tried. I had friends in from out of town. I couldn't get there.
All right.
Yeah, and we actually did wait a few weeks till the movie came. We didn't do this right away. I saw the movie as soon as it came out. We wanted to wait so that people who really wanted to see the movie will have had a few weeks to do so before we talked about it on the show. But if you still haven't seen it and you want to without spoilers, just skip over this section and then come back and listen to it once you see the movie. But if you didn't see the movie and you still want to listen to this segment, I'm just going to give you the quick overview. Some type of aliens arrive on a planet. We're meant to believe that this is the planet Earth. The alien drinks some black goo and then disintegrates and seeds the oceans with his DNA. This happened apparently at some point in the past, but it's not clear. Is it the Earth? If it is the Earth, was this before any life evolved on the Earth? Was it just before human life evolved on the Earth? It's really not clear. Then we jump to the future, to the present day. Actually, no, to about 100 years in the future, when scientists are piecing together evidence of ancient alien visitors to the Earth. They go to visit the apparent location of those aliens, and they run into what turns out to be a military base of the creatures that made the aliens from the Alien movies. So that's the basic plot. So now let's go back. We could probably take the scientific gas in the order in which they appear in the movie, or at least the big ones. So part of the problem with my problem with the movie, I mean, I don't mind having things being ambiguous and mysterious. That's part of good storytelling and science fiction. You don't need to know exactly why Hal went mental against the astronauts in 2001. That's fine. But it has to make some basic sense. Now, the problem is that I can't find any way to make sense of the basic premise that some alien seeded his DNA on this planet and that somehow resulted in us.
Right.
Looking exactly like them with
a perfect
100%
match.
DNA correlation.
Well, it's not just that, Steve. It's that it's rewriting proven science that is globally accepted by those that believe in science. So the issue here is that right out of the gate, from the word go, the movie is starting with a premise that's going to rub a lot of the science fiction fans wrong. Like it's taking some of your core audience and basically saying, hey, for whatever reasons, I'm going to insult you right now.
Right. So the thing is, again, it would be okay if it were just it's planting its DNA on the prebiotic Earth, and that DNA eventually will evolve into all life on Earth, because we really are not sure how the first self-replicating molecules got onto the Earth. It could have been through panspermia. It could have self-assembled on the Earth, and there are theories as to how that could have happened. But it actually isn't against established, proven science that the Earth was seeded with molecules, with organic or self-replicating molecules 4 billion years ago, or 3.5 billion years ago.
Not fully formed DNA, though.
Well, even DNA. That's a little bit of a stretch, but even that wouldn't be an assault on what we know happened. But here's the thing, that how would that lead 3.5 billion years later to humans? Because a human's DNA is what was seeded. You know what I mean?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. That's the connection that's completely missing. And
it's almost like they're suggesting two different biologies at work here. There's one that the Earth conjured up itself, which it contains everything except humans or the close ancestors of humans, and the engineers are responsible for the humans that came along on Earth. We've got two different biologies.
But that's almost worse. That's the other option. And that's even worse, because how are they so similar to the rest of life on Earth? And clearly humans evolved on Earth from other life on Earth. We were not planted here from some other system. And so,
Yeah, it would be obvious.
yeah, so there's just no way to make the whole thing work,
Right.
Well, next is what about the archaeology in the
Yeah,
caves?
that's
35,000.
That's the
I
other
found
big
that
one.
That's the
so
next step.
annoying. So 2 of the main characters in the movie are archaeologists who uncover a cave painting in which, a typical cave painting caveman is pointing at these, it was like about 5 or 6 or whatever dots on the wall, and they correlate apparently to paintings from multiple other cultures from 2,000 or so years ago. This cave painting was much older than 35,000 years. That's all that we were told. So we have different cultures painting these pictures of these 7 dots, and the archaeologists figure out that the dots are a star map.
Right.
This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
On so many levels.
On a lot of levels. The place they go to is said to be 35 light years from Earth, and even in 35,000 years, you're going to see shifts of something that relatively close to the Earth, right? That map's not going to be worth anything.
But guys, even here, and I've read a lot of stuff online about this, the star system had to be close enough that they can get there sub-light speed in 2 years.
No, there's no way
So
they
that
got their
means-
sublight speed in 2 years. There's no star.
Well, not
there's no
sublight
star that
speed,
we
no.
could do that. So we have to give them, and again, I have no problem with these kind of super technological gimmies in science fiction. They had to do some kind of superluminal speed. They're going through wormholes, or they're
Wait,
gating.
Steve,
or
Yeah.
never in the alien science fiction universe did they go faster
They
than
had
light.
to, Jay. They had
they-
to.
When?
can't-
But they never
can't
said
not.
it. Okay, maybe they had to, but it was never said or talked about. It was just
Yeah,
in
I
the
know.
background.
But I'm willing to give
Get
that
it.
to them, because it would take thousands, tens of thousands of years to get to the nearest stars sublight. Just to, you know what I mean? At anything with any reasonable acceleration.
Now, wait a second. If they're going at relativistic speeds, maybe it's 2 years ship time. Who knows what Earth time would be? Although it would be kind of silly, to get back to Earth and have it be 100,000 years later. That would be really silly if you plan on going back to Earth. But that's
None
just
of it
something
works.
to
Yeah,
consider.
I'm talking Earth time. Ship time could be much shorter, although it would still be more than 2 years, I believe. But then it would be hundreds or thousands of years on Earth time. It just doesn't fit the storyline. So, okay, we'll give that to them. They do some kind of faster than light travel. But here's the thing. Evan already alluded to the fact that, all right, over 30,000 years, the location of any stars in our vicinity would shift. They wouldn't be where they were. A star map that's more than 35,000 years old
would be worthless.
I also think the whole concept of just any two-dimensional pattern of dots being a star map that's going to direct us to a specific cluster of stars. We would have to assume that it was as seen from the perspective of the Earth. We wouldn't really know, are the stars actually close together, or are they just only lined up in one direction? It's just not enough information. It's just they should have had some more complicated graphic or glyph that's just more than 5 dots.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
It sounds like they whipped together that idea of, let's do 5 dots in one 20-minute meeting. Yeah, let's just do that.
It sounds like
give it
people
much thought.
It's exactly what happened, Bob. It sounds like people came up with it that are science fiction fans but don't get science. Oh yeah, it'll be these 5 stars.
It'll be a star map. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so basic. It's like that idea is 30 years old.
Yeah, exactly. That's lazy old school writing. And then their discussion of it was confused. They said, so we found the system, meaning, what do you mean the system? There's 5 stars here. And it said, and there's a sun in the system, or there's a sun in one of them. What do you mean there's a
Stars
sun
a
in one of them? Aren't these all suns?
Yeah.
They're...
Yeah, and you don't have much of a system without a sun anyway. Like if you have a system implies that there's a sun in there.
Yeah, and somebody commented it could have meant that there was a planetary system around one of the stars, making it a sun, but it's still not the right nomenclature. And why didn't they say, and one of these stars has a planetary system around it?
That's it. Quick fix.
That's what if they meant that, that's what they should have said. That part I found totally...
So 2 years goes by. Now, an incredibly rich guy hires these two scientists to basically lead up a mission to go to the planet and find the engineers.
Yeah, the engineers are the alien creatures who made humans somehow.
Oh, with an android. There's an android on the team, too.
Best part of the movie, by the way, was the android.
Yeah, he was cool.
First of all, I have to say I enjoyed watching the movie. It was gorgeous to watch. I mean, just the images and everything were fabulous. I think it's worth seeing. The annoying parts are almost fun to be annoyed at. You know, you like picking apart movies like this. The science wasn't the only problem. There were some major problems with the writing. I hated the way the characters were written. We can get this out of the way right now. One big problem was most of the main characters in the movie were scientists that were handpicked to go on this $1 trillion mission to discover not only the first contact with alien life, but the aliens who may have been responsible for humanity or life on Earth, and who clearly had visited Earth and left a message for us to follow to go find them. Huge mission, right? And all the scientists are buffoons.
Every last one of them.
Plus, they sign up for a 4-year mission without knowing the details of what the hell they're doing. Yeah, I'll do it. Well, wouldn't you ask for some details? Like, what's going on?
The geologist was just in it for the money, like he said.
Yeah. I'm just in it for the money.
Really good.
Cheap.
And then,
is that why they picked you for this mission?
Which one do you want to start?
I mean, they're all terrible. So they get on this. It's actually a moon of like a ringed gas giant. Although Bob and I were talking about the fact that the tidal forces on this moon would have been enormous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they would have been nasty. Nothing really. I mean, the surface would have overturned itself in and out over the millennia. There really wouldn't be much on the surface. The tidal forces would have been nasty. It would have been just basically a volcanic planet. I would guess from the proximity to its primary.
Maybe it was farther away than it might have seemed, but
but it looked good.
Perhaps, but yeah,
it
was just something that I noticed. I was like, yeah, what about
we're like a total nightmare to people that make movies like this.
They could talk to scientists while they're writing the movie rather than afterwards.
Right, or talk to us. Yeah. We'll help you out.
See, that's the thing. They probably
Ridley,
did,
next time, call us, please. So listen, the scientists get to this planet. They find that there's artifacts, and they essentially go into this big beehive-like complex or a working structure. They're inside this place. The planet apparently has oxygen. I'm calling it a planet. It's really a moon, but it's a world that people were on.
Mm-hmm.
But
with the 1G, apparently.
Very, very convenient 1G.
Perfect.
Very nice. And
always.
It had oxygen, even though there didn't appear to be that much life on it. But the carbon dioxide level was too high for humans to breathe. They would pass out from the CO2. So they had to have helmets on. And apparently the atmosphere inside the structure was breathable. So now the scientists who are on a planet with alien life, what do? They take their helmets off.
Throw their helmet off.
Well, the air's breathable.
Yeah.
The air's breathable.
How else can we know?
What else would
we
we
really
be in
know?
isolation for? You know,
Gee, microbes, bacteria.
Yeah, how about an airborne infection? Hello.
Of course, anything, guys, anything. And this is one of those big defining moments in this movie and in all science fiction movies, the big take the helmet off moment. It's right? It's such an iconic mistake to make. Don't take your helmet off. It never leads to anything good, number one. And number two, every single time somebody takes their helmet off, they shouldn't.
But Jay, you don't understand. It lends dialogue to the people who have to say,
What could go
"No,
wrong?
don't take your helmet off. You shouldn't." I'm taking my helmet off anyways.
Wait, now Steve, you missed. I'm sorry, I have to jump back to a moment in the movie you missed because it happens to be the big defining. This movie is crap moment for me. Okay, so it's when the lead scientist says that the circles they found on all the drawings is not a star map, but it's actually an invitation from the engineers who created the human race, right? Uh-huh. And they cap it off when she's asked how she knows that information is correct. She says she doesn't know. It's what she chooses to believe. And apparently that's good enough for all the other scientists on board because not one of them instantly pukes at that moment and says something like, hey, 300 years of science is now thrown away because you found an invitation. You know, and then on top of that, I'll even go one step further. The truly profound sadness of the whole thing is that according to the movie, she's right. She's actually right. All of that horrible thinking and lack of reasoning is correct in this ridiculous universe.
And it actually wasn't a leap to say that, if you buy the whole star map thing, and, it was left obviously with multiple cultures, that we would see the pattern and everything, that they intended us to follow it. I mean, that's what she was saying. And that's actually fine that she concluded that, but the evidence and the logic led you to that, not just, I choose to believe it, I have faith in it. And the fact that that statement went unchallenged by a room full of scientists created the sense that these characters were not behaving like real scientists. Not that, most of the time they weren't behaving like real human beings, let alone scientists. They were doing things that were just stupid and were out of character and were completely inconsistent. The character writing was just terrible. So, I agree with you, Jay. It's part of what we're talking about. Getting back to the taking the helmet off thing, the other thing is that you had no sense from the way these people were behaving of any training or seriousness. There was no protocol. Wouldn't there be an elaborate protocol in terms of not getting infected when you're on a planet that you have you're there because you think there's alien life there? And they would have some kind of protocol in place, but there was nothing. They were like high school kids exploring an abandoned building. You know what I mean? It was just no sense that these people knew what they were doing or had any training or were prepared for this at all.
Right. The height of that lack of protocol comes about 15 minutes further into the movie when two of the scientists get stuck in another part of like the spaceship / monument type deal, whatever the hell they're in. And they're in there overnight because all the other scientists went back to the ship, but they got lost and they get stuck in there, which is ridiculous that the guy got lost in the first place.
Yeah, so we have to pause, all right, because this is another bit about not behaving like scientists. This is the geologist guy who's like, oh, I'm just here for the money, I'm a tough guy. Now he turns into a little pansy. Because he first of all, he bugs out. He wants to bug out because they found a dead body. Oh, my God. They found a dead body. I'm so scared. I'm getting out of here. Screw you guys. I'm going back to the ship. This is also the guy now who brought these the laser tracking devices that are in the process of completely mapping this entire structure. This is the guy who gets lost. The guy with the map, the 3D laser-generated map of the entire structure, he's the guy who gets lost.
Hey, he's just in it for the money, Steve. Come on.
Yeah. All right, so now these guys are in this room. They're in the room that has like all of these little pods that are reminiscent of Alien.
With the eggs,
the room with all the pods with the if you remember with the eggs that have the laser light cover standing or whatever. So that goo is actually the stuff that changes biology. Okay, and there's worms on this planet that they show that are crawling around, and the worms get in the goo, and the goo turns the worms into the alien worms, right? Like it's what an alien would be if it impregnated a worm. So the worm very quickly grows into this big worm, and the biologist of the crew. If you don't know what a biologist is, I'll remind you. It's the guy that understands, biology, sees an alien worm thing come up. And his initial reaction is, oh, look how cute it is.
It doesn't look like a worm. It's the size of a beefy cobra, and it adopts the stance and the attitude of a cobra. Flaring its head, hissing. It's obviously a threatening display. And this guy's go, oh, look at the cute little animal. I mean, it was... Like it was a puppy. This is the guy who. These are the two guys who were leaving because they saw a dead body and they were freaked out by it. And now he wants to play, to cuddle up with a hissing space cobra.
An alien. I don't care if you see an alien and it looks like a little teddy bear. You run. It's an alien, for Christ's sake. The thing, who knows what's going on?
That's like, you guys remember Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
The cute little guy. Oh, look at the cute little guys, and they bare their teeth, and they're horrible carnivores. Exactly, they're alien. You don't know what they are. You don't know the millions of threats that thing could have evolved. And to assume, the guy's a biologist, so he must think all life forms are cuddly, even if they're carnivores. That, again, it's like the guy wasn't even behaving like a human being, let alone a biologist handpicked to be the first biologist to study alien life.
Was that your guys' first moment of disgust with the movie? Because that was it for me.
Yeah.
That is where I became like, wow, Like,
It was
they
a moment.
are really insulting my intelligence right now as a moviegoer.
I agree
mean,
with you, Ev. That was, I think you and I were sitting together, and I remember us sharing a look at that moment along with it.
We sighed and we were like hands
but
on our foreheads, like, what are they doing?
This is a really good example of what I like to call John Carpenter's The Thing set the bar, and you have to, from that moment forward, when that movie was created in the 80s, you have to live up to that movie. And here's why. The reason why that movie was insanely successful, where this movie blatantly fails, is everybody in The Thing did exactly what regular people would do. They were scared. They were cautious. They didn't really do anything stupid. They tried to talk about things. They tried to do the best job that they can, and it was obvious that they were all relatively intelligent.
Yeah, they did a good job, actually. That's the thing that it made the movie more scary, because the people in the movie were like really being proactive and intelligent, and they still got screwed. Whereas in this movie, like, they're dead because they're stupid and they deserve to be dead.
That's right. Yeah, you actually, at some point, you just start going, first off, you don't care about any of the characters, but when you don't care about characters in a movie, sometimes you start pitching for the other team. Then you're like, go get him, alien. Yeah,
right?
Kill him. He's an idiot. I hate that guy.
Yeah. Oh,
Save the
here's
human race.
here's the part where the acid gets sprayed in his face. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Another, along the theme of scientists acting out of character. So the archaeologist gets infected with a space worm. He's looking in the mirror. A space worm crawls out of his eye.
Yeah.
So clearly taking off the helmet was not a good idea. He's infected. And he doesn't mention it to anybody. And there's no isolation protocol.
not.
There's
Why
no,
would you do that?
he looked a little concerned for a moment there, but then I guess he figured everything was okay.
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
And it wasn't the helmet, though, that got him. The
I know,
android gave him the drink.
but he didn't know that. At this point, he should be thinking, geez, I guess I shouldn't have taken my helmet off. Not, I wonder if the android spiked my drink with aliens deliberately.
Yeah, and they take their helmets off again. The next day, he lets his wife, who he loves, take off her helmet again.
Yeah.
What about the head they put in the bag?
So, they find a decapitated head of one of the aliens who, they're humanoid. Their DNA is quote-unquote identical to human DNA, but they're like 8 feet, 9 feet tall, and they're not exactly identical to humans. So anyway, they find the decapitated head. They mention that it's remarkably well preserved, but they don't really offer any reasonable explanation for why the thing is fresh. It's not just well preserved; it's fresh. Like,
it's pliable, yeah.
It's like living tissue, fresh. And they're able to trick it into thinking it's alive by stimulating its locus ceruleus. So I guess they just chose a random name of a part of the brain to stimulate. Let's look up a brain. Now, locus ceruleus, we'll go with that one,
Sounds
Do a
good.
Google search quick.
And that, so the
Brain parts.
So they stick like this meat tenderizer type of prong into the head, and its eyes open up, and it gets a horrified look on its face, and then, for no reason,
it explodes.
The head
Yeah.
explodes.
Just because, because it was scared.
Yeah. Well,
And there was no alien in it. It
Yeah.
just exploded. It's like, well, why?
It was cool, I guess. It threw
something's got to blow up.
Yeah,
Because it was
we
mad.
need-
It was mad that they woke it up, and I'm not kidding when I say that.
All right.
I'm not kidding. when I say
One little thing. There's
You've
at
disturbed
one
my
point the
slumber.
scientists throw out the line that they're going to carbon-14 date the remains. Right? It was the alien that they found. Now, all right. Very quick background on how carbon-14 dating works. Carbon-14 is an isotope of carbon-12, which is the typical isotope. It's usually formed by cosmic rays colliding with nitrogen atoms in the atmosphere, converting the nitrogen atom into carbon-14. It's incorporated into carbon dioxide, which gets incorporated into plants, which then get eaten by animals. So living creatures on Earth will have the same ratio of carbon in their bodies as the ratio of carbon-14 to 12 in the atmosphere of the planet, sort of in the steady state. And then when you die, the carbon-14 now you're not replenishing your carbon-14 anymore. So the carbon-14 spontaneously decays back into nitrogen. But the carbon-12 is stable. So the ratio of carbon-14 to carbon-12 is we know the starting point because we know what the ratio is in the atmosphere, and then the amount of carbon-14 will decrease according to the half-life, which is about 5,000 years of carbon-14 decaying into nitrogen. So in order to do carbon-14 dating, you need to know what the steady-state ratio of carbon-14 to carbon-12 is, and they make no mention of calibrating the carbon-14 dating to this world, this moon. Further, we have no idea what the aliens were eating. We don't know if they were eating plants or animals derived from this planet's atmosphere, or if they brought food with them and what that ratio was. They really don't have any way of knowing how to calibrate the carbon-14 dating. You can't just apply it to this, to organic matter on an alien world in an unusual situation that you have no idea about.
And that's something that any scientist would have picked up if they just ran this by anybody. At the very least, they could have come up with something different. A different element, some other little bit of technobabble that would sell the scene, but not make it scientifically stupid.
Yeah.
See, but my fear here is that Ridley Scott and his team did that. They did consult scientists. They did get the correct ideas of these things, but they dismissed them and they decided to go a different direction because it wasn't cool enough in their minds.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Oh boy!
Because what scientists? Did the Ridley Scott and the Prometheus crew find the most incompetent scientists in the world and gather them together to be the scientific consultants for this movie?
I think they just didn't listen to whatever consultants.
They just didn't listen.
But it wouldn't have taken. It's not like it was an artistic thing. So you have the guy say, "Oh, I'm carbon-14 dating this," assuming my calibrations are correct to this planet. Just throw something out there so that anybody who knows what it is won't be insulted by it, or we go, "Oh, wow, they actually thought of it. That's cool." And if you don't know what it is, it just sounds like technobabble, which lends to the atmosphere of the movie. That's it's generally a good idea to write to sort of the most knowledgeable or the deepest level of your audience, or to always be one notch better than that. But you never want to write on a level that is more ignorant than your audience is going to be. And while a general audience may not pick up on a lot of these things, this is a science fiction movie. A lot of science nerds are going to watch it, and pick it apart, which is what's happening. All right, we have to get to some of the medical crap in the movie.
Well, that was all good.
Yeah. So the main character, who is the wife of the guy with the space worm who got infected by the android, they have sex, and apparently that's enough to inseminate her with alien genetic material. So she's rapidly growing an alien inside of her womb. She discovers this. Fortunately, the ship has an automated surgical unit. There's like a little box you climb into it. The computer it has attachments, whatever, that will do surgery on you, right?
This is my favorite little technological device. It was really cool. You plug in, what kind of problem do you have? I have a penetrating wound. I've got a sty in my eyelid. Whatever. You go in there, and these robotic arms take care of your problem, and from slicing into you and doing whatever it takes. And it's really cool, and I really love that scene. Except,
the execution was crap. First of all, incorporate some diagnostics. This is the thing is that other than the fact that this was all automated, the technology on display was very 2012.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was basic.
It was automated current day surgery. It wasn't the kind of surgery you would expect to be happening 100 years from now.
Right. That is true. It was a little simple, and it seemed tailor made for that one specific kind of operation that she needed, and not they weren't really tools that I think that were adaptable to all different types of things.
It actually had a claw like the claw that you would see in one of those machines where you drop the claw to get the plush doll.
The toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't have like an articulate hand type of thing that you'd have like this robot hand in there that was way more articulate than a human hand. It just come out with this stupid hook claw and take something out of her body. Oh God, go ahead, Steve. I don't want to take the medical aspect.
That's all right. I mean, you're doing fine because it was that stupid. So it does essentially a cesarean section on her in order to extract this alien from her womb. And first of all, they didn't preclude the actual surgery with any automated diagnostics. Like, I'm sure it could have imaged her and found out exactly what was done an automatic diagnostic run. That would have been a nice little addition. And then, it slices into her pretty much like you would today. Nothing laparoscopic, nothing, more technological. It's this big claw descends, sort of grabs the thing by the head and pulls it out. There was no finesse. It looked like it was going to drop the thing. I mean, it really didn't look like a very sophisticated surgical attachment, Mm-hmm. And then this is the worst part, though. This is the killer.
Yeah, this is bad.
So the surgery's done. Well, there's two bad things. So one is it pulls out the alien, and then she yanks the umbilical cord out of herself. Right? So she detaches it from... So what is that umbilical cord connected to?
All her vitals.
Wouldn't it be connected to some kind of placenta?
Yeah.
So if you just yank out and detach an umbilical cord from a placenta inside of you, then you will bleed out fairly quickly. You can't leave a placenta inside of you and just yank the cord off.
But this is an alien.
But it would have been a nice little touch if she delivered the placenta too. I mean, or wouldn't the automated robot thing know? Okay, now we have to get rid of the placenta as well,
or at least sew it up or something.
Well, then the big thing is that in order to close this wound, so now it's cut through skin, subcutaneous tissue, fascia, abdominal muscle, and then the womb.
Cockles.
And then to close all of that up, it just staples her skin shut. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Like I said, 2012 surgical technology.
At that point, she would need to lie in a hospital bed, even if she didn't bleed to death, like Steve said. She gets up and does phenomenal feats of athletics after that.
Running, jumping.
Her guts would be on the floor before she even got out of that.
So stapling the skin closed would not be enough to keep your abdomen shut. It would have been nice. Technically they would have done at least 3 levels of suturing. The womb, the abdominal muscle, probably another deep layer, and then the skin. So 3 or 4 layers of closure to really close that wound. They didn't do that. And the other thing is, it's 100 years in the future. Staples? Really? I mean, come on. I mean, I would have shoot some foam in there and have the healing lasers close it up. I mean, I would totally give them some hypothetical futuristic medical technology that allowed for almost instantly close and be healed to the point where she could run around without spilling her guts all over the floor. But all it did was put in one external superficial layer of staples, and there was no appearance of any other advanced medical technology. And then she, as everyone said, she's running around, wincing at her stomach, but running around. There's no way that she would have burst those staples wide open with what she was doing.
Yeah, but they were staples that are 100 years advanced, Steve. Come on.
It's not about the strength of the staples, it's about holding your guts in with your skin, as opposed to all the layers of muscle and fascia that normally do it.
Garbage.
Right.
What else you got?
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yet again, is another cool idea that they totally trashed. It could have been so much. It could have been so much better. I still enjoyed that scene just because the concept was just so awesome. But the execution was just like, oh, guys, come on, a little extra thought. An extra $1,000 in your stupid budget, and you could have made it so much better.
Steve, I'm curious to know what you think in particular about why in this movie we don't connect with the characters and we don't care about the characters, because that's always the kiss of death for a movie.
Yeah, partly because, for example, with the geologist, what was his character? Who was this guy? First, he's a tough guy, I don't care. Then he's techno guy whipping out the laser balls. And then he's afraid, of a dead body. And then he's stupid. I don't know. I don't know who this guy was. He had no consistent character.
He's grossly incompetent.
You know what I mean? I can't really describe him. He was in every scene what he needed to be to clumsily push the plot forward. And there was nothing there to connect with. And the other characters, again, he was the worst in my opinion, but the other ones were flat in a lot of ways, and they didn't they were too stupid to really connect to. I thought they were so obviously plot devices. So when a character is a plot device, they're a red shirt. You're not meant to connect to them. It's like everyone in this movie was a red shirt. They were just there to. It's like the teenager in a horror movie, who does the really, hello, is there somebody there? You know.
Yeah, I'm going to go take a shower over here now. Bill?
Yeah, it's like you're there to be splattered. So I'm immediately not going to care about you because I already know that you're splatter fodder. That's one.
Yeah.
I always compare it to the characters in James Cameron's Aliens, the second Alien movie, because for me that's one of the science fiction epics, and I love the way he wrote his characters in that movie. Almost every one of them, either I loved him or I hated him, but I had a strong connection and emotion. But all these characters, I didn't like anybody in the entire movie except the one guy that wasn't a human. I didn't like any of the humans. Like, come on. Yeah. Pathetic.
Game over, man. Game over.
Yeah.
I have the final comment, and I think you all will agree. An alien only shows up in the last 15 seconds of the movie.
An actual alien, yeah.
The whole movie was a setup.
Yeah, an actual
crying out
one.
loud.
Yeah.
Come on.
It seemed gratuitous, and like, okay, this is just supposed to get us excited for the next movie, you know.
Hey, but other than that, guys, this movie was great. Well, other than that, 50 minutes, this was wonderful.
Well, now that that's done with, Bob, tell us why time is...